I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who gets blindsided by betrayal. I always considered my marriage with Sarah to be solid. We were that couple everyone envied. Sure, we had our little arguments about the usual stuff, what to watch on Netflix or whether to go out with friends on a Saturday night. But overall, we were a team, or so I thought. It all started when I had to undergo knee surgery about 6 months ago. I didn't realize how much it would change things. I was used to being active, playing basketball on weekends and going on hikes. Suddenly, I was sidelined and my world shrank to the four walls of our living room. Sarah was my rock during my recovery, taking time off work to help me around the house. But even with her support, I sensed a growing distance between us. I put it down to stress, her trying to juggle her job along with taking care of me. In hindsight, there were signs, little things I brushed off. Like the way she would be glued to her phone, texting late into the night, or how she'd become suddenly obsessed with her appearance, extra time in the bathroom, new clothes, a fresh haircut. I joked about it when she came home one day wearing a new dress, wow, trying to impress someone. She just laughed it off, but I could see a flicker of something. Was it guilt? I didn't think much of it at the time. The real turning point came one night, a few weeks after I started physical therapy. I had begun feeling better, able to move around the house a bit more. I was even getting ready to head back to work. I decided to review the security footage from the clinic just to see how my sessions were going. I figured it was a good way to track my progress. That's when I stumbled upon it. Sarah was there, laughing, touching my physical therapist, Jake, in a way that made my stomach churn. At first, I thought I was misinterpreting things. Maybe they were just being friendly, but as I watched more, it became clear. They were flirting, leaning in close, her hand brushing against his shoulder as she laughed at something he said. It felt like a punch to the gut. I watched the footage in disbelief, my heart racing as I tried to process what I was seeing. Was my wife really cheating on me with the guy who was supposed to be helping me recover? The anger boiled inside me, mixed with confusion and pain. I felt like I was losing control, watching the foundation of my marriage crumble right before my eyes. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the footage in my mind, trying to make sense of it all. Questions flooded my thoughts. Had this been going on for long? Was she lying to me the entire time? I was furious. I wanted answers, but I also knew I had to be careful. I didn't want to confront her until I was absolutely sure. The next day, I decided to keep my cool. Sarah came home from work, cheerful as always. I tried to act normal, but inside I was a storm of emotions. As she chatted about her day, I could hardly focus on her words. I was still replaying those images in my mind, her laughing with him, sharing secrets that were meant for me. After dinner, I finally found the courage to speak up. I casually asked about her day at work, trying to gauge her reaction. "Did you see Jake today?" I asked, keeping my tone light. Her expression shifted. "Yeah, he was there. Why?" I could see the flicker of panic in her eyes. I took a deep breath, knowing I had to tread carefully. I needed to give her enough rope to hang herself with the truth. "I don't know, just curious. You seem to talk about him a lot," I said, studying her reaction closely. She shrugged it off. "He's just a great therapist. I mean, he's helped you so much, right?" I felt a tightening in my gut. The lies were already spilling from her lips. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, horrifying yet captivating. But I wasn't ready for the full confrontation just yet. I needed to gather my thoughts, my proof, something I could hit her with when the time was right. That night, as I lay in bed next to her, it felt like a heavy fog had settled over me. I was angry, yes, but I was also deeply hurt. I thought about all our years together, the promises we made and the love we shared. How could she do this to me? I knew there was no going back. I had to confront her, but first I had to come up with a plan. The next few days were a blur of emotions, anger, betrayal, and the deep-seated fear of what was to come. I sought advice from friends, but mostly I kept it to myself. I wanted to gather my thoughts, craft my words carefully for the impending confrontation. I had to be ready because this was going to change everything. Little did I know, the worst was yet to come. As the days dragged on, I felt the weight of the impending confrontation pressing down on me. I could hardly focus on anything else, my mind racing with thoughts of Sarah and Jake. The way they interacted on that security footage played on a loop in my mind. I could see their smiles, the way she leaned into him, her laughter echoing in my ears. It was driving me insane. I started to gather evidence, not just from the footage but from other sources. I went through her phone when she left it lying around, scrolling through texts and messages. I found heart emojis and laughter-filled exchanges. That made my blood boil. I quickly deleted my browsing history, making sure she wouldn't suspect a thing. I was becoming someone I barely recognized, sneaky, paranoid, and consumed with the need for the truth. Finally, the day came when I felt ready. I had accumulated enough proof to confront Sarah about her infidelity, and I wanted to do it when I was calm, not when the emotions were at their highest. I decided to wait until the weekend when we would have some time to talk without distractions. On that Saturday morning, as we sipped coffee together in the kitchen, I felt the tension in the air. I could see she was oblivious, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside of me. I took a deep breath, mustering my courage, and turned to her. "Can we talk about something important?" I asked, my voice steady but firm. She looked up, her brows furrowing slightly. "Sure, what's up?" "I've seen some things that concern me," I started, watching her face closely for any signs of guilt. "I've noticed how you've been acting lately. You seem different." She chuckled nervously, waving her hand dismissively. "What do you mean?" "I'm just busy with work and everything. You know how it is." I pressed on, trying to keep my emotions in check. "It's not just work, Sarah. I saw you at the clinic with Jake. You were really close." Her face paled, and for a moment I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes. She tried to play it off. "Oh, come on, it's nothing. We were just being friendly." "Friendly?" I echoed, trying to keep my voice even. "It looked like more than that. I saw the way you were looking at him, the way you touched him." She shook her head, her voice rising a notch. "You're overreacting. It's all innocent, I promise. He's just a good therapist." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could she stand there and lie to me so easily? "Sarah, I know you're lying. I have proof. I've seen the texts." Suddenly, her demeanor changed. The confidence she had a moment ago evaporated as she realized I wasn't backing down. "What do you mean, texts? What kind of proof?" I pulled my phone from my pocket, my hands trembling slightly as I scrolled to the incriminating messages I had saved. "These," I said, showing her the screen. "You've been flirting with him. This isn't just some friendly banter." Her eyes widened as she read through the messages, and in that moment I saw the walls she had built around her begin to crumble. "I didn't mean it like that," she stammered, her voice shaky. "We were just joking around." "Joking around?" I shot back, feeling my anger rise. "Sarah, this isn't a joke. You've betrayed me. You've betrayed our marriage." She took a step back, her expression shifting from shock to defensiveness. "You don't understand. I was just trying to make you feel better. You were so focused on your recovery, I needed someone to talk to." "I was in recovery, Sarah. You should have been talking to me." I yelled, finally letting the pent-up emotions explode. "Instead, you were out there flirting with my physical therapist." Her eyes filled with tears, but I was too angry to care. "This isn't about me. It's about you and your choices." "How could you do this to us?" "I'm sorry," she cried, her voice breaking. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened. I felt alone. You were so consumed with your recovery that I felt like I was losing you. And so you decided to cheat on me." I shot back, incredulous. "That's your solution, to sleep with another man." "I didn't sleep with him. We didn't go that far," she pleaded, desperation coloring her tone. "It was just what?" I interrupted. "Just a little fun, just a way to feel wanted again." In that moment, I felt a mix of rage and sadness. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a complete breakdown of trust. I had given her my heart, and she had chosen to give it away. The confrontation spiraled into a whirlwind of accusations and denials, her promises that it would never happen again and her pleas for understanding. But I was beyond hearing her excuses. My heart was shattered, and I needed space to think. I stepped away from her, needing to cool down before I said something I could never take back. I could feel the weight of the world on my shoulders, the realization that the woman I loved had not only been unfaithful, but was also trying to manipulate the narrative to fit her version of events. As I retreated to the living room, I felt lost, my mind racing with the implications of her betrayal. How could I move forward from this? Did I even want to? I had always believed in the sanctity of marriage, and now Everything felt tainted. The emotional impact of that confrontation was overwhelming. I felt as if I was standing on shaky ground, the foundation of my marriage crumbling beneath me. I had to figure out how to pick up the pieces, but at that moment, all I could do was breathe and let the reality sink in. I realized then that this was only the beginning. I had a decision to make, and it wouldn't be easy. The road ahead was dark and uncertain, but one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. After the confrontation, the house felt eerily quiet. Sarah had retreated to the bedroom, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I sat on the couch, staring blankly at the wall, my mind racing through the myriad of emotions swirling inside me. Anger was still there, but it was quickly being replaced by a heavy sadness that threatened to envelop me. How had things come to this? I kept replaying the moments leading up to that confrontation, the laughter, the smiles, the love we had shared. Now it felt all like a cruel joke. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare, one that I couldn't wake up from. Hours passed, and I finally forced myself to check on Sarah. I knocked lightly on the bedroom door, but there was no response. I opened it slowly, only to find her curled up under the covers, her back to me. The sight tore at my heart. I still loved her despite everything, but how could I look at her without thinking about what she had done? "Sarah," I said tentatively, taking a few steps closer. She didn't budge, her silence only deepening the rift between us. I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. "We need to talk," I insisted, my voice firmer this time. She turned slowly, her eyes puffy and red from crying. "What more is there to say?" she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. "We can't just pretend this didn't happen. We need to figure out where we go from here." Her expression hardened. "What do you want from me? I messed up, I know that, but can't we just move on? I'll do better, I promise." "Do better," I repeated incredulously. "You think that's all it takes? You think you can just say sorry and everything will magically go back to normal?" "I didn't mean for it to happen." I felt so lonely and neglected. "You were focused on your recovery and I felt abandoned." I shook my head, trying to process her words. "But that's no excuse to cheat. You should have come to me. We could have worked through it together." "I was scared," she admitted, finally sitting up. "I didn't want to burden you while you were healing. I thought I was being strong, but I was just weak." Her admission struck a chord in me. I understood feeling lonely, especially during my recovery when I was physically limited. But I had chosen to lean on her during that time, to trust her, and she had betrayed that trust. "Do you love him?" I asked finally, the words tasting bitter as I said them. She looked at me, her expression torn. "No, I don't love him. It was a mistake, a stupid, regrettable mistake. I love you. I've always loved you." Those words hung in the air between us, heavy with the weight of betrayal. I wanted to believe her, but I was scared. How could I trust her again? How could we possibly move forward after this? "I need time, Sarah," I said, my voice softer now. "I can't just sweep this under the rug. I don't know if I can get over this." She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I understand. I'll give you time. I don't want to lose you." That night we slept in separate rooms. It felt surreal. The silence in the house was deafening. I tossed and turned, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. I felt like I was in a fog, unable to see the path ahead clearly. The next few days were filled with tension. I went through the motions of daily life, but everything felt off. I returned to work, trying to focus on my tasks, but my mind kept drifting back to Sarah and the betrayal. I'd catch myself staring out the window, lost in thought, wondering how I had let things get this far. I reached out to a couple of close friends, wanting to talk it out. I needed their support, their perspectives. When I met up with them, I found myself rambling about the affair, the pain, and my confusion. They listened intently, but I could see their concern grow as I shared the details. "Dude, that's rough," Mike finally said, shaking his head. "I can't believe she would do that, especially with someone so close to you." "Yeah, I know," I replied, rubbing my forehead in frustration. "I'm just torn. Part of me wants to try and fix this, but another part of me is screaming that I can't trust her anymore." "Trust is everything in a marriage," Lisa chimed in. "If you don't have that, what do you really have left?" Their words hit home. I had always believed that trust was the foundation of our relationship, and now it felt like that foundation had crumbled. I couldn't shake the image of Sarah and Jake together, their laughter, their closeness. It haunted me. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself in a state of limbo. Sarah kept trying to reach out, apologizing and begging for forgiveness, but every time she did, it felt like salt on an open wound. I wanted to see her remorse, but I also needed space to process everything. Finally, I made the decision to seek marriage counseling. I knew I couldn't navigate this alone, and I wanted to try to understand if there was any way to salvage our marriage. I spoke to Sarah about it, and to my surprise, she agreed. "I'll do whatever it takes to make this right," she said, her voice earnest. "I'll go with you and we can work through this together." I felt a flicker of hope, but it was quickly overshadowed by doubt. Would counseling really help? Could we rebuild what had been broken? As the weeks progressed, the counseling sessions brought up a lot of buried feelings and unresolved issues in our relationship. It was painful but necessary. We uncovered the cracks that had formed long before the affair: communication barriers, unmet needs, and the weight of unspoken expectations. Through it all, I learned a lot about myself and what I wanted from our marriage. Each session forced us to confront the issues head-on, and while it was uncomfortable, it was also enlightening. I began to see Sarah's perspective, the loneliness, the fear of losing me during my recovery. It didn't justify her actions, but it gave me insight into her state of mind. But as I dug deeper, I also had to confront my feelings of betrayal. The emotional impact of her infidelity lingered like a shadow, and I knew I had to decide whether I was willing to forgive and let go of the past. As we approached the end of our counseling sessions, I felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps we could return to each other, but it would take time, effort, and a lot of rebuilding. I had to weigh the consequences of her actions against the love we had shared for years. I still wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time since all of this began, I felt like I was moving forward, not just in terms of our relationship, but for myself. The path to healing was long and fraught with uncertainty, but I was ready to face it. Little did I know, the real test was yet to come. As the counseling sessions continued, I felt a mix of hope and apprehension. Each week brought a new wave of emotions, and while I was learning more about Sarah and the dynamics of our relationship, I was also wrestling with my own feelings of betrayal. It was like walking a tightrope. One wrong move could send me tumbling into anger or despair. The counselor, Dr. Roberts, suggested that we both spend some time reflecting on what we wanted from our marriage moving forward. "You both need to understand how to rebuild trust," she said one day. "It's not just about saying you're sorry, it's about making consistent, meaningful changes." That night, after our session, I found myself lying in bed wide awake. Sarah was next to me, her breathing steady, but I felt miles away from her. I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing with thoughts. What did I want? Could I see a future with her? The question hung heavy in the air, and I realized I had to dig deep. The next day, I decided to take a walk to clear my mind. I went to the local park, a place where we used to spend time together. I found a bench and sat down, watching families play and couples stroll hand in hand. It was a beautiful day, but the sunlight felt distant. I was caught in this dark cloud of betrayal and uncertainty. I began to write down my thoughts, trying to articulate what I felt. I had a notebook I used to jot down ideas, but this time it became a diary of sorts. I wrote about my anger, my sadness, and the moments of joy I still remembered. I had to face the fact that we had shared so much good together, yet here we were, standing on the precipice of destruction. As the days turned into weeks, I started to notice Sarah making more of an effort. She was trying to change, not just for me but for herself. She began to communicate more openly, sharing her feelings and fears without me prompting her. I appreciated the effort, but I was still guarded. Trust was a fragile thing, and I knew it would take time to heal. Then came the day of our next counseling session. As we sat together in Dr. Roberts' office, I felt a sense of anticipation. Sarah had been more engaged lately, and I hoped this session would bring us closer. "Today, I want to talk about rebuilding trust," Dr. Roberts began. "What does that mean for both of you?" I looked at Sarah, searching her face for answers. She took a deep breath before speaking. "For me, it means being transparent. I need to show him that I'm committed to making this work, no matter how hard it gets. I nodded, appreciating her honesty. And for me, I added, it means learning to forgive. I have to work through my feelings, but I want to try. I just need to know that I can trust you again. Dr. Roberts nodded, guiding us through a series of exercises designed to help us communicate effectively. It was challenging, but I began to see glimmers of the connection we once had. We talked about our dreams, our fears, and the future we wanted to build together. But just when I thought we were making progress, everything was thrown into chaos again. A week later, I received a call from the clinic. It was Jake. He wanted to talk. My heart raced. Why would he be calling me? I thought about ignoring it, but something compelled me to answer. "Hey, it's Jake," he said, his tone serious. "I need to talk to you about something important." "What is it?" I asked, my heart pounding. "I know about the situation with Sarah," he said, "and I want to be honest with you. We didn't sleep together, but there were some things I didn't handle well." I clenched my jaw, anger flaring inside me. "You think that makes it better? You were flirting with my wife. You should have known better." "I know, and I'm sorry I got caught up in it. It was never my intention to come between you two. I just thought she needed someone to talk to during your recovery," he said, his voice earnest. "Right, because that's what she needed, your attention." I snapped back, feeling the tension rise. "Listen, I just want to make things right. I care about my patients, and this whole situation has left me feeling terrible. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I hung up, my mind racing. So now Jake wanted to take some responsibility. It infuriated me. How dare he act like a good guy in this? I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I had to confront Sarah again, but this time it wouldn't just be about her infidelity. It would also be about Jake's role in it. When I got home, Sarah was in the kitchen preparing dinner. The smell of garlic and herbs filled the air, but it did little to ease the turmoil inside me. I walked in, my heart heavy, and set my bag down. "Hey, how was your day?" she asked, her voice bright. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of what I was about to say. "We need to talk. It's about Jake." Her expression shifted, concern washing over her face. "What about Jake?" I recounted the phone call, watching her reaction closely. She looked pale, and I could see a flicker of fear in her eyes. "I can't believe he called you," she said, her voice shaking. "What did he say?" I told her everything, watching as her face shifted from shock to anger to guilt. "I can't believe this is happening," she said, running her hands through her hair. "I thought we were past this." "We're not past anything, Sarah," I said, my voice firm. "You need to understand that this isn't just about you anymore. Jake needs to know he crossed a line, and you need to take responsibility for what happened." I know," she shouted, her frustration spilling over. "But what do you want me to do? He's my therapist. I can't just cut him out of my life. He's been helping you, helping me," I repeated incredulously. "He's the one who helped you cheat on me. You need to set boundaries, and you need to do it now." The tension in the room was palpable, and I could feel the walls closing in around us. This was a defining moment. Could we really work through this, or was it a sign that things were falling apart again? "I'll talk to him," she finally said, her voice small. "I'll tell him it needs to stop, I promise." I wanted to believe her, but doubt crept back in. Trust was broken, and it would take time to rebuild. I didn't want to go through this pain again. As we sat in the kitchen, the silence stretched between us. I felt a mix of anger and sadness swirling together. We were at a crossroads, and I knew it was time to make a decision. Would I continue to fight for our marriage, or would this betrayal be the breaking point? I had to weigh my options carefully. And in that moment, I realized that the road ahead was still filled with uncertainty, but I was determined to find clarity. No matter what happened next, I had to prioritize my own healing and decide what I was willing to accept. The answers were still elusive, but I had to stay strong for myself, no matter where this journey led. In the days that followed the confrontation, things felt more strained than ever. Although Sarah had promised to talk to Jake about setting boundaries, the thought of her meeting with him again gnawed at me. I knew that trust takes time to rebuild, but how could I trust her in a situation that involved the very person who had contributed to our pain? The next counseling session came around, and I felt a rush of anxiety as I walked into Dr. Roberts' office with Sarah by my side. We settled into our usual seats, and I could sense the tension hanging in the air. I needed to address what had happened, but I also wanted to stay calm and focused on working through our issues. Dr. Roberts opened the session by asking how we had been feeling since our last meeting. I sense some unease between you, she said, looking back and forth between us. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. It's about Jake, I said finally. I found out he called me after our last session. He said he wanted to make things right, but honestly, I don't want him involved in our lives anymore. Sarah's face fell, and I could see the conflict in her eyes. I I talked to him, she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. I told him it was inappropriate for him to contact you and that he needed to keep things professional. I felt a flicker of hope, but it was quickly overshadowed by doubt. Did he agree? What did he say? He seemed genuinely sorry, she replied, her tone defensive. But I'm still his patient. I can't just drop him. He's helping you recover, and I need to keep going to therapy. I shook my head, my frustration bubbling to the surface. This isn't about your therapy anymore, Sarah. This is about our marriage. We can't move forward if you still have ties to the person who contributed to this mess. Dr. Roberts intervened, sensing the rising tension. Let's take a step back. What both of you need to acknowledge is how this situation is affecting your trust in each other. Sarah, how do you feel about Jake's involvement right now? I don't want to hurt you, she said, her eyes welling with tears. But I also need to prioritize my own healing. This is so confusing for me. Confusing. I echoed, feeling the sting of her words. What's confusing? You can choose to work on our marriage or continue to have a relationship with the man who disrespected it. I didn't mean to, she cried, her voice rising. I never wanted this to happen. I made a mistake and I'm trying to fix it. Fix it, I shot back. Do you even understand how deep this cut is? I don't know if I can just stand by while you continue seeing him. Dr. Roberts stepped in again, guiding us through the emotional chaos. Both of you are feeling hurt, and it's important to remember that healing takes time. Sarah, perhaps you need to consider the impact your continued relationship with Jake has on your marriage. And for you, it's essential to communicate your boundaries clearly. I nodded, feeling somewhat validated by Dr. Roberts' words. I just want clarity. I can't keep living in this limbo where I don't know what's happening. As the session continued, we discussed our feelings, our fears, and the reality of the situation. It was exhausting, but I began to feel a sense of relief as we worked through some of the tension. I could see Sarah was genuinely trying, and I wanted to believe that we could rebuild. After the session, we walked out together, and the silence felt less heavy. I know this is hard for you, and I'm sorry, Sarah said quietly. I want to make things right. I'll set boundaries with Jake, I promise. I looked at her, searching her eyes for sincerity. I need you to mean that. I need to know that you're committed to fixing this. I am, she said, her voice steady. I want us to get back to where we were. But as the days turned into weeks, I found myself struggling to believe her. Despite her efforts, I remained guarded. Each time her phone buzzed, my heart would race. I knew I had to let go of that anxiety, but it was easier said than done. I decided to focus on my own healing while also continuing to attend counseling. I began exercising again and started to reconnect with friends, trying to rediscover the parts of myself that felt dormant during my recovery. I wanted to remember who I was outside of this situation. Despite my attempts to focus on myself, thoughts of Sarah and Jake lingered in the back of my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something unresolved. One evening, as we were preparing dinner together, I decided to bring it up again. Hey, can we talk about Jake one more time? I asked hesitantly. Her expression shifted, a flash of worry crossing her face. Is it necessary? I think it is. I need to know you're serious about cutting ties. I want to hear you say that you're willing to find a new therapist, I said, my voice firm. She looked down at the chopping board, her hands stilling as she processed my words. I don't want to abandon my recovery, but I understand where you're coming from. You don't have to abandon your recovery, but you can find someone else. It's about making a choice, choosing our marriage over the situation that caused this pain. After a long pause, she nodded. You're right. I'll find someone else. I want to make this work. The relief that washed over me was tempered with caution. I wanted to believe her, but I hadn't forgotten the hurt. We set a date for our next counseling session, and over the next few days, I could see Sarah making an effort to research new therapists. But just when I thought we were starting to gain ground again, I received a shocking text one afternoon. It was from Jake. "I hope you're doing well. I want to assure you that I've cut ties with Sarah. I wish you both the best. Take care." My heart sank. Why would he even text me? It felt like a cheap attempt to save face. I showed it to Sarah that evening, my blood boiling. "Look at this. Why is he contacting me? This is not how you handle a situation like this." Her eyes widened and she shook her head. "I don't know. I told him not to reach out to you again." I felt anger swelling inside me. This is just adding fuel to the fire. How can I trust either of you if this is how it's going to be? Maybe it was his way of trying to show he's sorry, she said defensively. "Sorry doesn't cut it." I snapped back, feeling the familiar storm of emotions rise again. "We're trying to rebuild, and this is the last thing we need." The intensity of the situation was overwhelming, and I could see the panic in Sarah's eyes. "Let's talk about this," she said, her voice trembling. "We can figure it out together." But at that moment I felt too raw to engage in the conversation. I needed space to breathe, to think. I couldn't let this derail everything we'd been working on. "I need time," I said finally, forcing myself to calm down. "I can't keep doing this right now." As I walked away, I could feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. I had to make a decision about Sarah, about our marriage, about my own heart. I didn't know what the future held, but one thing was clear. The road ahead was going to be even more complicated than I anticipated. I had to find a way to navigate the pain and distrust while protecting myself, but I also needed to confront the reality of my feelings for Sarah. Could we truly rebuild what had been shattered? Or was it time to let go? The answers remained elusive, but I was determined to find them, no matter the cost. In the days following Jake's text, I felt a shift in the atmosphere between Sarah and me. The tension was palpable. I was on edge, constantly questioning her commitments and intentions. I spent sleepless nights tossing and turning, pondering everything. Could I really trust her again? Was it even possible to rebuild our marriage after everything that had happened? I finally decided to confront Sarah about how I felt. One evening after dinner, I turned to her, unsure of how to express the whirlpool of emotions inside me. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady but heavy with the weight of what I was about to say. "Okay," she replied, her expression tense but open. "I've been thinking a lot about our situation, the affair, Jake, everything." I began, feeling the lump in my throat. "And I don't know if I can keep going like this. I'm still angry and hurt, and I feel like I'm walking on eggshells all the time." Her eyes filled with tears and she nodded. "I understand. I'm so sorry for everything. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought we were getting better, but then Jake's message just threw everything back into chaos." "That's just it, Sarah," I continued, my voice rising. "Every time something happens, every time I hear about Jake or see a message, it pulls me back into the darkness. I can't keep reliving this pain." She reached for my hand, her grasp trembling. "I want to work on this. I'll do anything to earn your trust back. I'll cut ties with Jake for good if that's what you need." Part of me wanted to believe her, but I had learned that words were just words. They could easily be empty promises. "It's more than that. I need to know you're fully committed to us. I need time and space to figure out where I stand." "Are you saying you want to separate?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I hesitated, the weight of the question pressing down on me. "I don't know, maybe it's what we need. Maybe space could help us both see things more clearly." Her face crumpled and I could see the realization hit her hard. "Please don't say that. I love you and I want to fix this. I don't want to lose you." It broke my heart to see her so vulnerable, but I had to stay firm. "I can't ignore how deeply I've been hurt. I need to prioritize my healing, and right now I don't know if being together is the best way to do that." Silence hung between us, thick and heavy. I could feel her heartache, but I also had my own to contend with. It was suffocating and I needed air. After a long pause, she nodded slowly, tears streaming down her cheeks. "If space is what you need, then I respect that. But I want you to know I'm here and I'll be waiting for you." With those words, my resolve began to crack, but I quickly steeled myself. "I need to move out for a little while. I'll find an apartment close by." The reality of my decision hit hard. We had built a life together, and now I was choosing to step away. It felt like a betrayal in its own right, but I knew it was necessary for my own well-being. The next day, I packed a few essentials and found a small apartment nearby. It felt surreal to be leaving our home, the place filled with so many memories, both good and bad. As I locked the door for the last time, a wave of sadness washed over me. I had never imagined my life would take this turn. The first few days in the apartment were disorienting. I missed Sarah terribly, but the space also provided me with clarity. I began to focus on myself, reconnecting with friends, engaging in activities that had long been neglected, and rediscovering who I was outside of being a husband. I started going to therapy myself, processing my feelings of betrayal and hurt. I needed to understand how to move forward, whether that meant reconciling with Sarah or finding a new path entirely. Each session peeled back layers of emotions, allowing me to confront the pain without the distractions of our relationship. As time passed, I began to feel more like myself again. I still missed Sarah, and there were moments when I would think of her and the life we had shared. But I also realized that our marriage had been a reflection of who we both were at that time, a time that had changed dramatically. After about a month apart, I decided to reach out to Sarah. I wanted to see how she was doing and to gauge where we stood. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop, and as I walked in, my heart raced with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. When I saw her, my breath caught in my throat. She looked different, more put together, yet there was a deep sadness in her eyes. We sat down, and the conversation flowed easily at first, but then the gravity of our situation settled in. "I've missed you," she said, her voice trembling. "I've had a lot of time to think." "Me too," I replied, my heart aching. "I've been working on myself, and I think I'm starting to see things more clearly." "Do you think we can come back from this?" she asked, her eyes searching mine for answers. I paused, weighing my words carefully. "I don't know. I care about you, and I want to believe we can work through this, but it won't be easy. There are still a lot of feelings we have to unpack." "I'm willing to do whatever it takes," she promised, her sincerity shining through. "I'll do anything to rebuild your trust. I'll go into individual therapy too, if that's what you need." Her words stirred something inside me. I still felt the weight of betrayal, but I also saw the glimmer of hope, the possibility of healing. "It's going to take time, Sarah. I'm not ready to jump back into things, but I'm open to exploring what the future might hold." As we continued to talk, the connection we had began to rekindle. It was fragile, but it was there. We discussed setting boundaries, rebuilding trust, and taking things slow. It felt like a new beginning, a cautious, hopeful step toward healing. I didn't know what the future would hold for us, but I was willing to explore the possibility of rebuilding our relationship, one step at a time. In the following weeks, we met regularly, attending counseling together and separately. Each session was a mix of vulnerability and honesty as we took turns unpacking our feelings. We worked hard to communicate openly, and while there were setbacks, we slowly began to build a new foundation based on understanding and respect. As we navigated this new territory, I learned valuable lessons about love, trust, and forgiveness. I realized that healing was a journey, not destination. We were both learning how to be better partners, and while the scars of betrayal would always be there, they also served as reminders of the strength it took to rise above them. Looking back, I could see that the affair had shaken the very core of our relationship, forcing us to confront deep-seated issues we had ignored for too long. It was painful, but it was also an opportunity for growth. I didn't know what the future held, but I had faith that together, we could forge a new path. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was ready to face it, whatever it may bring. After all, love is not just about the good times. It's about navigating the storms together and coming out stronger on the other side.